Is not an alien force already among us?
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
From some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe.
Welcome to S4.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4, the official radio broadcast of Forest Moon Paranormal, with host Eric Cooper and our panel of enlightened minds. Coming to you live from FMP headquarters located in the heart of Skagit Valley, Washington, at the base of the majestic North Cascade Mountains. We will take you through a journey of exploration as we examine every aspect of the metaphysical. From spirits, UFOs, Bigfoot, and conspiracies, to grounding, protection, astral travel, and everything in between, leaving you with a better understanding and comprehension of the world around you, and the entities that inhabit it. Join us every Saturday night at Spreaker.com and locally on KSVU 90.1. Don't forget to check out our new webpage at www.s-4radio.com. Now sit back, open your mind, get ready. This is S4.
Good evening or morning, depending where you are, and welcome to S4, the voice of Forest Moon Paranormal, coming to you live from the FMP headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains in Concrete, Washington. FMP is a highly active emergency response team for all aspects of the paranormal, from aggressive hauntings to alien interaction, Bigfoot and other cryptids, and everything in between is terrifying. S4 is the voice where we discuss these things in detail. Not only can you find S4 right here on Spreaker, but for our local listeners, also on KSVU 90.1 FM from 10 to 12 Saturdays with our pre-recorded shows. So, folks, it's already June 1st, and for some of you, you're already on fire. I know Saskatchewan's on fire, so it's time to prepare. It's that season. It's hot, there's drought, wildfires, heat exhaustion, and other summer hazards we'll be discussing. It's time to talk emergency action plans, what to do and how to prepare for seasonal hazards, and keep your family safe. We do this topic seasonally, and tonight's no exception. So get those notebooks out. Tonight with us, we have Cole Wegleitner, our FMP technical analyst and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services, Brent Dodge, our FMP Astral team, Eric Markham, our FMP scientist, and our Keith Andrews, our alien race specialist. So, here we go, round two, and sorry for technical delays, folks. It comes with the territory. So, how's everyone doing tonight?
Awesome.
Not bad. I'm still breathing at the end of the game.
Oh.
How are you doing, Coop?
Oh, I'm doing.
Well, that's good. Better not do.
I'm getting mocked by Izzy because I've got these new headphones on that have cat ears and they light up. They're kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. Good.
So, for new listeners, yes, we are a paranormal radio show. But when you look at emergency response, personally, I see emergency response pretty much. Emergency response, to me anyway, is the emergency response, whether it's a paranormal issue or a volcano, earthquake, fire, they're emergencies. And I guess it's in the blood. Adrenaline's in the blood. That's why I was a fireman for a little bit, for 8 months. I was search and rescue. I was a combat medic. It's just adrenaline. You thrive on it. So whether you're going to northern state to look for spirits, or you're dealing with an alien, or you're responding to a community that's had a terrorist, event, they're helping people is helping people, regardless of which area you're working in. Would you guys agree?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Very, yeah. That's a great way to look at it.
Well, when you look at the ICS system, you can take the ICS, which is Incident Command System. You can take that ICS system and actually use it with, mountain missions that we do with Bigfoot, or a hazmat incident. It really doesn't matter. It's pretty much the base camp is set up the same way. And that's what y'all are going to learn when we start training. Which, speaking of which, we need to start training. It's nice out. We have 200 plus pumpkins planted in the pasture now.
Nice.
And 14 rows of corn. And more coming. So it's going to be a good crop year up here. As long as we don't have a drought or a wildfire. And speaking of wildfires, we are in a high wildfire hazard area, which is why we're doing this show tonight. It's
shout
season.
out. Can we throw a shout out to all the people in high level Alberta?
Of course.
For 560,000 acres already burnt. 10,000 people have been evacuated. It is bad up there. Guys, be safe. Take care of your families. Homes can be replaced. Families can't.
Exactly. And kudos to the firefighters that are going out to try to take care of it.
Yes.
Yeah, and the other thing is, for pity's sakes, please give the firefighters room to do their job.
Oh, yeah. So you know what? I'm glad you brought up that point, because let's talk about that for a minute. So when it comes to any first responder, and you see it in this community, and I'm going to irritate some people, but that's okay. Looky-loos, which are the people that slow down to gawk and go, "Oh, is that my neighbor?" Who cares? You know what? Let the first responders in to do their job. That's what they're there for. And then you got the ones that listen to the scanner and they jump in their car and they run to the scene. You're just getting in the way. And if you see the fire department trying to get out of the firehouse, by all means, get the hell out of the way. They got their lights on. I've had, when I was with a fire department here in upriver, it took me 5 minutes for us to get out of our parking lot because cars wouldn't stop. That's with lights on. Think about it. If that's your house burning, or if you're the one in the MVA, the motor vehicle accident, you would want first responders to get there quick. Think about that.
Yeah.
And,
that'd be my outlook on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been known to block traffic so the fire trucks can get by.
Well,
there you
go. Common sense. And I know it's law that if a fire truck, ambulance, police car has their lights on, you get out of the way. That's law. Now let's talk about courtesy lights for a second, because some departments I know don't recognize them. Some of them do. Some of them use them. Those are the green flashy lights you see. So some fire departments still use them. Some don't. But if you see green flashing lights, it's not a law for you to pull over, but they're courtesy lights for a reason. If they have green flashing lights, those are volunteer firemen. And they're trying to either get to the firehouse or they're trying to get to the scene. So think about that. If you're using green flashing lights illegally, obviously law is going to get you. But if you're a volunteer fireman and you're using green flashing lights, and if you see them behind you, pull over. It's a courtesy, but they're trying to get somewhere.
Once again, common sense should set in. You're in a car too. It could be your house that's burning. Think about it, people.
Yes.
Yeah, and much as that's a wonderful thought on occasion, depending on who you are and where you live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I prefer having the fire people show up. I know in my case, having the ambulance show up on time was kind of beneficial as far as my kids were concerned.
Right?
Yeah. Well, there was my little brother was a volunteer department fireman, and the state troopers used to pull them over on their way to respond. If he saw the green lights, he wouldn't give them any slack if they were going over speed limit or anything. He'd ticket them.
Well, yeah.
I think appropriate karma there is his house should be the one that burns down for screwing with the volunteer firemen.
But I need to clarify, too, though. Even if you have green flashing lights, we still have to go the speed limit. It's just to get cars out of the way if they are kind enough to pull over. I've actually had cars slow down just to be jerks. And I have better words for that, but just to be jerks. And, think about it. If it's your house burning, you'd want us to get there faster. But, yeah, you still, and my rule of thumb, I usually go about 5 over the limit. I go 5 over the limit anyway. But, I try not to go over 5 over the limit. But, no, you still have to drive sane, whether you've got green lights flashing or red lights flashing or whatnot anyway. And think about it, if you're in a fire truck, it's got 1,000 gallons of water, you don't want to go overly fast regardless. Well, you can't.
Yeah, because you're not going to stop stop easily with that much.
No.
9 pounds per gallon.
So it doesn't matter what the hazard is. It doesn't matter what the disaster is. The emergency action plan is the same, and this is for the families. I think, my biggest grief with emergency management is they're all about training themselves, and they're all about training, their civilian counterparts, but they're not about training the community. That's the dilemma. You don't know how many folks that are up here that have no idea what an emergency action plan is, or what the evacuation route is, or what to even do if, say, the dams break up here. And that's where the dilemma is. They're all about training the CERT teams. They're all about, and we'll get to CERT teams, but they're all about training all the first responders, and that's great. But if the first responders can't come in, the community needs to know what to do so, you have more lives saved. That's the bottom line. So basically, what an emergency action plan is something that you put together for your family. Especially if you have kids. So if your kids are in school when something happens, the school generally has their own action plan, and all the parents should know what that is. So, if there's an incident at the airport, if there's an incident in town, the parents can't get up there, and if something happens, don't run to the school. Know what the action plan for the school is, but don't go running to the school, because you're gonna bog down the school. You're gonna bog down the parking lot, for example. Nobody can get in or out, and then there's gonna be more loss of life. The schools usually have their own action plan. Find out what it is. I know it's on the if you're local, it's on the Concrete School District's website. So, what are some of the hazards we have? And it doesn't matter if you're in Australia, if you're in India, if you're here in the States, Canada, Mexico. A fire is a fire, a volcano is a volcano, an earthquake is an earthquake. It's all the same response. We just have different agencies to help educate and to help assist.
Well, let's face it, there's a very big difference between the way a volcano works as compared to a forest fire.
Well, yeah. No, my point is, though, the response that we do as humans is going to be the same.
Pretty much.
There's different responses, obviously, to a volcano versus whether you're going through an earthquake.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that much is true. That much is obvious. But we're not going to go into all of them tonight because tonight is actually summer safety, so we're going to focus mostly on wildfires, how to get your home prepared for wildfires in the event that we have one up here, and hopefully we don't. Hopefully it's a quiet fire year. I'm not holding my breath on that, but
I'm going to bet on it.
No, not even. We have rain coming Tuesday and Wednesday, and of course by the time this airs terrestrial, it's going to be next month. But and then it'll be July. So yeah, it'll be even hotter than it is now. So backing up. First hour, we're going to be talking emergency action plans. So, emergency action plan, again, you're going to get your family together. You're going to have a family meeting place. So, if something happens around, and you're all home, you have a rally point. So, if there's a fire in the house, the family gets out, everybody goes to the rally point. If you have a business, same thing. With your employees, you're going to have a rally point. So you can make sure everybody's there. Tom, Joe, Harry, Linda, you're all there. You're all accounted for. And someone's dialed 911 in the meantime. So that's the first step. Make sure your kids know where this rally point is. Personally, we have a safe point for different reasons. But that's step one. Step two, you got to make sure you have an out-of-state contact. That way, if your family is split up, everybody knows to immediately call Aunt Sally in Alberta, and Uncle George in Idaho, whatever the case is, so that everybody in the family knows to call this out-of-state contact. And if one person doesn't call the out-of-state contact, then now it's time to start looking once the disaster is over. Or let law enforcement know so they can start tracking. There's a possibility somebody's stuck inside the house or stuck at school or whatever the case is. So step 3 is inventory. It's important to inventory everything in your home, all your personal belongings, your high value items. And you can go on State Farm Insurance. You can go on any of the insurance companies. And quite often they'll have a free download that you can actually print out. I think State Farm actually has an inventory sheet that's like 50 pages. And you can put down your serial numbers, your description of your items, pictures. And you can put that in a thumb drive. And you've got it, that way during the event and after the event, you have proof of all the items you've got. If looters came in and stole it or was damaged during the fire or whatever, you've got all the evidence of that you own it right there. So number 4, important documents, and that kind of goes hand in hand. So what I have is a briefcase. It's got a copy of their birth certificates, our social security cards, your insurance documents for your home, titles, things like that. It's a real quick grab and go. So if you have to get out, you're evacuating, everything's in one spot. Then you've got your, I don't like calling it a bug out because bug out's kind of different. That's more for survival. But it's kind of the same concept, kind of your evacuation bag. And, the Forest Moon Paranormal Junior team is actually going to be creating theirs probably at the next meeting, Cole? Start working on it?
Yeah.
And for them, it's more of a survival bag. but it's going to be the same concept. A couple changes of clothes, a fire starter, these
flashlight.
are more... Yep, flashlight, headlamp, things like that. All things you can get at...
Bottle caps.
Huh?
Bottle caps.
Bottle caps.
Well, yeah, it'll be the new currency after the nuclear apocalypse.
There we go.
So,
or a bullet.
Why, we due for another one that I wasn't told about?
You should
have
know.
You heard the news?
You're the astrologer. You're supposed to know these things.
Well, this is why I've missed a dozen of the ones that were supposed to knock the planet out.
Right. Brent, you still with us? Did Brent drop?
Hold on, give me 1 second.
Markham, you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I'm just doing a roll call real quick.
Yeah, Brent, it says he's still in the call, so.
Okay.
But he is at a place where they don't have the greatest connection on the phone.
Right.
So in other words, he's still on the call. He's just ignoring us.
Or he hasn't dropped yet. Okay. So moving on. So basically, and I'll use Markham. Do you have a bug out bag yet?
Oh, I've had one for quite some time.
So what all's in your bug out bag?
Oh, let's see, a couple 100 rounds of ammunition, one pistol, compass, light straw for drinking mud puddle water if I have to. You know, some a wireless or a battery-free. Well, you've seen it, that base station and the two handsets for, being able to communicate.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
Crank charger and, I think it's a little bit of first aid stuff.
Oh, we'll get to first aid.
Try. Yeah, just a little bit of everything.
Okay, so that's a bug out bag. So that's gonna be different than the disaster bag. Disaster bag, you just make sure you got sturdy shoes, because if a disaster happens, you might be walking through broken glass, things like that. A couple changes of clothes. Now, according to all the FEMA documents, they suggest 3 days supply of food and water. Personally, I don't like that. I say a week, because we can go through 3 days of no power up here easily. And so, yeah, no, I highly encourage you stock up a week for your disaster kit.
But I got 3 young boys. That's like a U-Haul truck worth.
I know it. But you know
no,
what?
you just feed the youngest one.
Yeah. And so when it comes to water, you're looking at a gallon of water per day per person. And I know that's a well. So what we're going to do, this isn't something you have to do overnight. So preparing for disaster is a never-ending process. And so what I like to do is get solar panels for our well, so that when the power goes out, we still have water. Because city people, they have a never-ending stream of water. They don't have to worry about it. But if you're in the country...
Until the water line busts.
Well, yeah.
Or they lose power to the pump station.
Yeah, that doesn't... But here's the difference, though. Being up here, and even being where we're at, versus if you're living in the city of concrete. If you're in the city of concrete, your priority level for getting the power back up is way higher than ours. So concrete might get their power up within a day or two if it's a major outage. We might still have no power for another 3 days, even after concrete's got power. So, using last winter for an example, because last winter was pretty bad. I think we were out of power. I think we got our power restored Christmas Eve day, wasn't it? Cool.
Yeah, I think so. You did. We got it 2 days earlier, but yes, you did.
Yeah. It was Christmas Eve day that they finally got our power, and that was down for like 4 days. But that's the first time in 7 years that we've actually lived in concrete that it's been that bad. It was a bad winter. It was a bad winter anyway. We had 2 foot of snow. So, yeah, generators are a must. I encourage everyone to at least get a 6K generator. Smaller generators are good for small lights or things like that. But a 6K generator you can hook your freezers up to. Of course, look at the wattage, look at the voltage input, and make sure you're not overdoing your generator. But also, if you leave your freezer doors shut, they're usually good for about 2 days. So, what else?
Well, Mary brought up a good point that those life straws that they recently brought out are a great item.
That's the one that's got the filter that you can drink out of a mud puddle, right?
Not just a mud puddle. You can drink straight out of a septic.
Oh God, no.
No, seriously, like the actual life straw, is supposed to be that good that it filters to pure clean water.
I'd like to be in a position to test it.
And Thomas is bringing it up in the chat room too, and I know he knows because he just lives in Day Creek. So you lose power in the boondocks, you have nothing, no water, no heat, no nothing. So yeah, backup generator is great. Having your A, B, and C plans are also great. If you have kids, for example, we have a trailer out in the front, and no. So I have a cat that's trying to bring a mouse in, and that doesn't work. And so if you have a trailer, that's one of our backup plans. We have multiple backup plans. One is if it's going to be too long, we're going to head from Mount Vernon to my parents' house. That would be Plan C. Plan B would be going out to my father-in-law's trailer and staying warm with propane. And again, safely with propane, because a lot of people die because they have the generator in the house. They use propane stoves in the house, and they die of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Kerosene heaters?
Yeah, kerosene heaters. So carbon monoxide kills people every year because people bring them in the house. They leave all the windows closed. Carbon monoxide is an odorless, you can't see it, and it basically pulls all the oxygen out of your body. Would that be accurate, Markham?
What it does is, if you're breathing carbon monoxide, it bonds to your hemoglobin, I forgot, like 5 times better than oxygen does. And it gets to the point where all your free hemoglobin is taken up by carbon monoxide. You're not getting any oxygen in your system.
Right. And Mary's bringing up a good point. So, yeah, they do have those, and we've looked into them, but they're like $2,600, $3,000 and more. It depends on how big of a generator you get. But they actually there's a couple companies out there that actually make backup generators that the hospital use that you can actually use in your it hooks up, and it's got a transfer switch, and it'll power up your whole house. Now, it depends on what you got. Depends on how much power you're using in your house. But as soon as your power goes out, it kicks on automatically, like what the hospitals use. So something's you might want to look into if you have power outages all the time, like we do. Yeah, Mary says $7,000. So it depends on how much wattage you want to power the house. Look at your power bill. It usually tells you how much output you actually use. So I think we've covered emergency action plans pretty well. So evacuation routes. Know what the evacuation route is. And, again, it's going to depend on what the disaster is. For example, if our dams break up here, do you know where to go? And it's always good.
Hi.
It's always good to know where to go before it happens.
The nearest canoe.
No, because when you're talking those dams breaking, you're talking houses floating down. You're talking log jams. No, you don't want to be in a canoe for that one. You got people that are actually, I've got a boat. Well, good luck with that.
If you put it on top of the house, it might work.
It might.
Science supports that.
I'm going up the mountain. Have fun with the boat.
That's okay. So's the boat.
So, again, it depends. Because if your evacuation route happens to be the mountain that's on fire, obviously you're not. You don't want to have multiple evacuation route plans. So it really does depend on what the disaster is as to which evacuation route you're going to take. And again, make it a family trip. Get your kids involved. When you're making your kids' bag, make it fun. Put a coloring book in there. Put some cards in there. Put some drawing sheets in there. And while we're on that, does anyone in your home have a disability? Make sure you have extra medication in there. Extra pair of glasses. Look at the big picture. A lot of people don't look at the big picture. They don't. They look at the here and now, and throw a can of sardines and a couple crackers and a lighter in a bag and call that good. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to make it.
I thought you meant for a minute make the evacuation a family trip.
I was getting there. So when you're looking around for evacuation route, yeah, make that a family trip. Pack a picnic. Go up some logging roads. See if they're gated. If they're gated and you just have a Honda Civic, you're not going to get through the gate. Obviously.
Depends on if there's a rise right before the gate.
Oh, you mean jump over it?
Yeah, I'm thinking the Honda doesn't usually have enough power for that, but it's worth a shot.
Well, yeah, and how much you fed the dribbles So yeah, be proactive. Know your evacuation routes. Know your plans. Make sure you have your disaster kits ready to go. Now let's talk about the vehicle. Rule of thumb: I like to keep at least a half tank, if not a full tank, in our vehicles at all times. Especially in the winter. Maybe not so much right now. It's at half tank right now, but during the winter, we try to keep a full tank because you don't know. You might be trying to evacuate and your route's cut off, so you have to go all the way around and use a lot more gas than you anticipated to get, to a gas station, whatever. So yeah, be proactive. Have your plans. So there's a program too, and I've been pushing this for a year. Know your community, know your neighbors, because eventually, and I hate to say this, but there might be a day where your community is all you have to rely on. Yeah, I'm not even going to go there, but your community and your neighbors might be all you have to rely on, and knowing who your neighbors are, knowing what skills your neighbors have. You might, if you have a nurse next door, you're golden when it comes to the medical side. But there's a program, and for those that want actual files, documents and downloads, contact me directly on Facebook and I can get them to you. But there's a program called Map Your Neighborhood, and it's a booklet. It's basically got a map that you can use. You can draw the diagram of your entire neighborhood, and it'll have a space in it. You can put Smith, Jones, whatever, whoever's in your neighborhood, and what their skills are. And for the community or your neighborhood, you have a rally point, and you can. It's also got a page that says okay or help. So if you're down, if you need help, you put help in your window. If you're okay, you put the okay in your window. That way when you're walking down the neighborhood, you see okay, oh, the Jones have help. So we know the Jones need, assistance. But it's a great program. I've got the booklets, and it's a good way to meet your neighbors. It's a good way, have a block party. Talk about Map Your Neighborhood. And get everyone on the same page, and you have a safe neighborhood. So next weekend, also for locals, again, this won't be aired terrestrially until next month. But on the 9th at 6 o'clock in the community center, we are having a community meeting. I'm trying to get the fire marshal there to talk about burn bans. Speaking of which, there is no burn ban as of yet. I checked just before the show. I don't know what that was. But anyway, I've got animals running around.
Those are kids.
No, kids are asleep. Well, probably not asleep, but not in here anyway. Maybe the cat got the mouse in after all. But right now there is no burn ban. Right now, legal fires are 4x4 or smaller, and common branches and whatnot is legal. Anything bigger requires a permit. That's for Skagit County. I believe as of last year, there is no burning in the city of Concrete at all. You remember seeing that, Cole?
Yeah. I think you're right. They're not allowed to have any fires whatsoever.
No, it's outside the fire department, actually. And Mary says she goes to a community meeting usually monthly. I do community meetings every 3 months or so. We don't have them monthly. Nobody up here holds monthly meetings. And yeah, that's where we're at. We're going to do another one in August. We're going to do another disaster preparedness show in August. But we're going to concentrate on active shooter response, extremist groups, and terrorism response. That will be the show for August for disaster preparedness. Something I think doesn't get talked about enough because too many people are scared to talk about it. I guess the fear is if you talk about it, it's going to happen. And it doesn't work that way. So we have 10 minutes before the top of the hour, so we're going to, unless somebody's got something to bring up about emergency action plans. But it's kind of funny. We've been spending a lot of time at my parents' house because Dad had a hip replacement. But every time I'm there, I'm talking Homeland Security. Because, well, that's what I do. That's what I'm studying. And I sound like a paranoid, a paranoid delusional individual sometimes. But it's based on textbooks. It's based on fact. And they don't get that. They're, in their 70s. Everything's safe. And Dad called, not about this, but Dad called yesterday and said, you know what? I can see why you're so safe. I can see why you stay aware. Because, yesterday morning, there was a homicide in Seattle, and there were 12 people shot in Virginia. It seems like the violence in this shooting is getting worse every day. What do you guys think?
Well, it absolutely is.
Can I just say there was only one homicide in Seattle?
One homicide that made the news. I'll put it that way.
That's a slow day in Kent.
Right?
Just saying.
No, I know. But no, that's
like it is bad here.
Huh?
It is bad here. One homicide making King 5 is a slow day.
I agree.
See, sad to say, and even getting to know your neighbors is one of the easiest ways to make your neighborhood safer. But there's no question that it's getting worse.
So, and we're not talking paranormal tonight. Yeah. On a non-paranormal side, why are things getting worse, Keith?
Well, quite frankly, in a sense, I blame the media. It's a proven fact that whatever you put on the front page of the media or the headlines on the TVs, that's what gets replicated. That's giving the people that are doing this recognition, which is why half of them end up doing it in the first place.
So basically, you got copycats based on media headlines.
Not necessarily copycats. And sometimes what it does is it triggers the mindset.
Okay. And that makes sense, actually. You know,
kind of like a weird type of peer pressure. Almost.
In all fairness, yes. This is why I've always been a proponent for taking random weddings and putting them on the front page of the paper. I mean, still report the bad news. You know, report the murders and what have you. Put them in the back of the book.
Right.
You know, so when you walk down the street, what you're seeing is so-and-so is helping such and such.
So, has anyone heard about Virginia? Last I heard, I think, and I'm not even sure, I didn't hear Virginia mentioned. It might have been another shooting, but it was a deranged, fired employee that actually did it. Is that what they're saying on that one, or has anyone heard?
I haven't heard.
Give me 1 second.
Because I always get curious. Because everybody loves to blame Islam, where they're brown skinned. That's always what they talk about. That's always
it's
what
like,
they.
Who cares what color they were?
No, I completely agree. That's my point. You don't hear too much about the right wing radical. Not so much.
All right, the suspect who had worked for the city for about 15 years as a civil engineer recently purchased multiple firearms legally.
Mm-hmm.
He used a semi-automatic handgun and had multiple extended magazines. He also had a suppressor that muffles the sound of gunfire.
So he was a former employee.
Yeah, of course, you really got to wonder, if it's a semi-automatic, what is he buying it for? And why would they sell him a silencer?
So silencers are legal now. You still have to fill out some kind of special paperwork, but you can go to any gun store pretty much now and buy a silencer.
And
I understand it's legal. I was just curious why anybody would actually, if you're worried about guns that much, why even have it on the market as an available product?
There's no reason for it unless you're a sniper.
Yeah. I mean, military, absolutely, I agree. A silencer is necessary.
So
I think they got to push through under the idea that if you're out deer hunting, less noise in the woods, less chance to scare the other deer away if you miss one, that kind of thing. That's the justification used. Personally, I don't know why. I'm kind of a gun rights person, but that's not something bump stock.
I don't have a problem there. I mean, if you're hunting, you're using one shot theoretically, not a semi-automatic weapon, or you're going to have a mess on your deer.
You're going to have ruined meat.
The silencer so you don't disturb the other deer.
Yeah, but that's stupid. That's stupid. Makes no sense. There's no, and again, I want to clarify. I believe in Second Amendment. I believe in weapons to an extent. I believe in weapons with education. I think if I was going to change anything, I'd have required education before you were allowed to purchase a firearm. Because any Tom, Dick, and Harry can walk in, buy a pistol, never fired one, never even touched one, and then go out, get a concealed carry, walk into an active shooter situation, shoot himself in the foot because he don't know how to shoot.
Well, I'm not against people shooting their own foot. I mean, I have no doubt it's painful, but
it does make me shake my head, though.
Oh yeah,
there was a guy on somewhere in the Midwest that wanted to see if his steel-toed boots would stop a .45.
That was stupid.
Yeah, they didn't.
No.
It's like the African shaman that wanted to prove to his tribe that his God would protect him, and he was bulletproof. So in front of everybody, he had somebody else shoot him. It didn't work that well for him.
Yeah, and when it comes to kids, I think kids are different in that you have to go by the maturity level of the kid, whether or not they're able to play with a firearm. And play is not the right word, but handle a firearm.
Oh, it works with me.
Yeah, properly.
Right.
Well, I remember in Michigan, you couldn't get your hunting license till you were a certain age, and then you still had to, even though you were that certain age, you still had to take a hunter safety class.
Right. And, growing up, I went to hunter safety course when I was 16. I got my trapping license. I was able to get my hunting license. I was able to use it my dad's 30-30. But I think back in the 70s, society was different. Now, here, you can't find a hunter safety course. They're very few and far between. I think they should be required.
Everett is our closest one.
Huh?
Everett is our closest one now.
Yeah, well, it used to be Bellingham.
Now it's Everett.
And that's ridiculous. If you want kids, especially kids, to take hunter safety courses, offer them, obviously. So we're going to carry on this conversation because I think this is a good topic to hit on. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we will carry on the conversation.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Well, hello there. Us here at S4 would like to remind you out there that the UFOI Team weekly meetings are broadcast live on Facebook from Denny's, where America eats, each Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at UFOI Team on Facebook. The UFOI Team's gear, product store, and newsletter are located on their website at ufoiteam.com. To contact the UFOI Team with your sightings report or a paranormal story, send an email to theufoiteam@gmail.com. Keep looking up and tell us your story.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Hello, my name's Cole Wegleitner with Statement of Sound DJ Productions. We do mixing, monitoring, recording, and editing for all your audio needs. For our local listeners in the Skagit area, we are taking bookings for your 2019 events and parties. We have a wide array of music from any genre. Please allow us to help you make these memories last forever. Contact us at 360-999-2830 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro. Join us on September 28th at the Cedar-Woolley Community Center for 2019 Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon. VIP All Access passes on sale now at fmparacon.com. Your pass includes all-day admission to see the speakers and workshops, the Ghost Walk, a special VIP workshop, a special round table with the speakers, a Paracon t-shirt, and an FMP Paracon swag bag. These tickets can be purchased from fmparacon.com. Get yours today.
Hey everyone, Cole here with S4 Paranormal Radio, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. Looking for a way to get the word out there about your business, group, team, or product? Let us help you. A few clicks is all it takes to get started at s-4radio.com, or you can contact me at 360-999-2830.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Welcome back to S4. Tonight it's Summer Safety and Disaster Awareness. You can also find the archives at our Spreaker site and on the S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you missed in the last, can you believe it, folks? Next month is 3 years. 3 years we've been doing S4. Anyway, back to the show. So, where were we? We were talking, actually, I don't know how we got on it, but you know what? We're going to go with it. We were talking firearms and firearm safety. And it goes with, it does go with disaster preparedness because, extremists are all around us. We'll get to that in August, though. But let's wrap up firearms. I am going to get my concealed carry. And a couple of years ago, you told me I needed concealed carry. I would have said, no, I don't trust myself with concealed carry. But I do trust myself. I do trust my skill. I do trust my common sense. And I think it's necessary almost, to a degree. What do you guys think? I think we're coming into a time and an age in society that it's almost required.
And that's a sad point.
I never thought I'd say that. I really didn't. But shootings are getting worse.
The only thing I've got against concealed carry is if you go to a place that says no weapons allowed, you still can't carry your concealed weapon.
And I get that. I don't
I live
get
in
that,
an open carry state, though. As long I can wear my pistol as long as it's out in the open freely in North Carolina.
Oh, we are too.
Arizona was open carry too.
Washington
and
State.
Open carry is just as good to me. Open carry is as good as concealed because you don't, like I said, even if you have a concealed carry permit, if you're going to a restaurant that says no weapons allowed, you can't take it in there.
Right. Now, and we are open carry. Washington State is an open carry state. So I guess I could carry it openly, but I just rather have concealed carry. I don't want to sit here and flaunt my weapon. That's how I see it. Look at me, I've got a gun. And that's half the attitude. I saw a guy in a pawn shop one day that had and his pistol was so big, it's like, really? I could walk up behind you and unclip it and snatch it up. That's how easy and how gaudy it was. And what's your point? Are you going to be able to pull that out before an active shooter can react? No, you're not. So I'd much rather have concealed carry, have it hidden, do my thing, get my shopping done, come back home. Nobody knows I had it,
See, the one thing in favor of having open carry as compared to concealed is you know what you're dealing with. You don't have to worry about surprise problems.
Do you really think?
Yes,
but the thing is, do you think open carry is going to intimidate an extremist or terrorist that's going to come in and shoot up the place anyway?
Gun laws won't intimidate an extremist. All those laws do, all the open carry will do, is it will deter the borderline, the one that's debating whether he's going to do something.
Right.
Okay, that's all it slows down is the ones that are on the border. It won't do a thing for the ones that have no interest, and won't do a thing to the ones that are dead set they're going to do it.
Well,
I think I agree with that.
But
I will say, to an 8-year-old kid, open carry is pretty intimidating.
Well, yeah, we're not dealing with 8-year-old kids though. The extremists I'm studying, they don't give a damn. They're all about violence, and they're going to attack whether you're open carrying or not.
Okay, so my first experience with open carry, because we don't have it in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
No.
The first time I ever came into the States, I was 8 years old, and we are driving down through Montana to Great Falls, and we were going to a toy show, and there was a car show and a gun show all at the same place. The first thing I see after we cross the border, as we're looking out the window at the other vehicles, is a really big dude on a bike, all in black leather, and he's got a sawed-off shotgun strapped to his back. That is definitely intimidating to an 8-year-old kid.
Oh yeah,
who has never seen that. Like that's not a thing we see. Like you see guys with guns inside their trucks as a kid. When I was a kid.
Yeah, usually in a hunting run.
Yeah. But that was just amazing to me.
Right.
You know, the thing is, like I said, it will. And of course, I'm in Canada as well, as we all know. But the reality of it is, it doesn't matter what the law. Extremists aren't going to pay attention to it. It's like when you go for gun registration. You know, the only thing that ever does is it takes the law-abiding and the borderline and puts the guns on the table. But the ones that don't want to report it aren't going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I'm going to bring up Thomas's point, too, because I like it. Now, the problem is, though, to an extremist or terrorist who's got a target, you're going to become a target automatically because you're automatically a threat if they want to attack that point. Once they see you've got a firearm, they're going to eliminate you and then attack the target. So you just paint a target on your back with open carry, depending on the situation. And Mary brings up, gangs don't care either.
Exactly.
So for Skagit County residents, there were 12 cartel members that were arrested and busted last year, back in August. So cartel's here. The Mexican cartel, that is. Russian cartel, I'm not sure about. But there are other extremists that are here as well that we need to be aware of. And again, I'll get to that in August in more detail. But MS-13, I'm not sure about. MS-13 and the cartel are your two biggest right now that I know we've got to deal with. And they don't care if you're open carry. They're going to take you out and do what they got to do, which is another reason I would much rather have concealed carry. Get in, do what I got to do. The other thing I don't like, even if you're concealed carry or open carry, if you're in an active shooter situation and law enforcement shows up, they're going to shoot you too because they don't know who the actual active shooter is. That's my other issue with it. They come into the scene and you got a gun, you automatically become a target to them. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, in all fairness, yes. I do agree, but we've still got the same problem. Because, anytime you've got law enforcement coming into the area and, hats off to law enforcement, I don't want a job where I have to carry a gun.
Right.
It puts them right smack in the middle of a really bad situation to start with.
No.
But this is why you look at a lot of the, the one thing you said earlier that I absolutely agree with there is people, before they're allowed to buy a gun at all, need to have some sort of training on how to deal with the thing. Mind you, I hold the same concept where it comes to people that have a Class 5 driver's license and go out and buy a 30-foot motorhome.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still drive the motorhome with only a Class 5, but a 30-foot semi, you need a Class 1 for.
Right.
You know, it boils down to the same idea. If you don't have the training, you shouldn't have the toy.
Well, they changed that law in Manitoba up there now.
Well, it was a law before.
What Keith was saying, but now in order to drive a truck and trailer unit of like RV, you now need a Class 1 driver's license.
That's good.
Okay. So, Chris,
and that's
still
even
here?
if you're just driving through the province.
Is Chris still here? Or did she drop off again? Okay, there you are.
I'm here.
Okay. Markham?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I'm just making sure. So, let's move from firearms to fires. So, fires, you know, we're coming into the hot season. And I think, so I brought up the point, you know, smokers. So the biggest cause of fires during the summer is lightning strike in the mountains, smokers throwing cigarette butts out, and somebody brought up in the concrete group glass bottles. And I never thought about that. Don't throw your trash out, period. But, you know, people throw out glass bottles, and it magnifies the heat, and that's what starts some of these wildfires.
Yep.
And, you know, the other one is cigarette butts. Fireworks, which we're not going to go into fireworks safety because, well, that's redundant.
I think it's Smokey the Bear's fault. Every picture you see of him, he's playing with matches.
Yeah. But that's what he does.
Wouldn't that be Boo Boo that has the problem, though?
Hey, Boo Boo. Want to give me some of that picnic basket? So I've got the fire safety checklist straight from the fire marshal's office, and we're going to go down it. The big thing is, and I'd encourage everyone to check your smoke alarms. So there's two kinds of alarms. There's a smoke alarm and a fire alarm. Smoke alarm picks up smoke in the air and signals. Fire alarm, if you remember the old fire alarms, once it got to a certain heat, it melted some wax, and that's what sounded the alarm. You guys remember those?
Yep.
And that's a fire alarm. It goes by temperature, not by smoke. So I believe it's ready.gov. They encourage you to, every fall, daylight savings time, which it looks like Washington State's going to pass a law. Though we're not going to have daylight savings time anymore. There's no reason for it. So that's going to throw that out the window. But every fall, check your batteries. Every spring, check your batteries. Just make it a habit. And, you know, I'm not sure if the fire departments offer free inspections anymore. Something I'll have to look into. But I think having your homes inspected is important because you never know when you're going to overload your circuits. You know, when it comes to overloading circuits, having extension cords plugged into extension cords is a good way to start a fire. You know, back when I was in the Army and I was doing OSHA inspections, that's one of the fire inspections I'd be looking for. Do they have extension cords running underneath rugs? Do they have multiple extension cords plugged into other extension cords? Do you have the grounding rod of your triple extent? You know, people cut off the grounding rod, the 3-prong plugs. That's a good way to start a fire too, if it arcs out. So, inspection of your home, make sure you're not overloading your circuits. Inspection of the home anyway, because if you have old wiring, is a good way to start a fire. So, use appliances wisely. When using appliances, follow the manufacturer's safety precautions. Heaters. If you have a heater on right now,
you're nuts.
Right? Well, it gets a little bit cooler at night, so I get that. But, you know, keep an eye on heaters. Keep heaters away, depending, especially the old radiator heaters.
And no heater should ever be plugged into an extension cord.
No, that's a good way to overload your circuits. Again, look at your circuit rating on your extension cord. A lot of times those indoor extension cords are weak. They're great for Christmas lights. They're not great for the coffee pot. They're not great for the hair dryer. They're not great for heaters. Things with a lot more wattage, they're not great for. Good way to start a fire.
Even a full outdoor extension cord, you can still start a fire that way.
Well, yeah.
Anything below 12 gauge extension cord should not be used for a heater or an air conditioner. It's too high of wattage for it to run.
Yeah. And Mary says she has her air on. And, it's a lot hotter in the south. Right now, especially. And again, going back to the first hour, you go back to the fire. Make sure you have your evacuation routes for your home. Make sure you have, your kids know how to get out of the house. If you do smell smoke, get low because smoke rises. Don't just open the door. You always want to feel, go back to in the 70s, we had this training as well in school. You feel the doorknob. You feel the door. If it's hot, you don't open it. Kayla's in the chat room. Make sure you have a hose close by when you're having an outdoor fire, just in case, spark lights. And same thing when you're doing fireworks. I always have 5-gallon buckets full of water if I'm out in the field, because I can't get the hose out that far. At least a 5-gallon bucket of water, I'll be able to stop it.
And it's a good idea to pre-rinse your whole area that you're doing any fireworks or fire in. About 3 hours before, walk out there and just give everything like light spritz of water from the hose.
Well, it's also good to have a ABC fire extinguisher of some kind nearby.
Yeah, I completely agree. Especially, once we start hitting drought, which right now it's dry, but it's about to get a lot drier. It's supposed to rain again, I think, next week, which is great for the garden. But it's really not going to be good enough to keep the drought away. And people have this bad misconception that just because it sprinkles a little bit and rains a little bit, now I can have a fire. Or now I can, no, it's surface rain. It's basically going to, wet down the surface, but it's still dry underneath the top layer. It'll still start a fire. So yeah, Ron brings up the good point. If you have a kitchen fire, this was the biggest cause of house fires in the Army, was people have a grease fire and they would throw water on it. Well, water and oil don't mix. Nope. So you throw water on an oil fire, it spreads. It basically throws, it repels, so it throws the flame and the whole kitchen goes up. So in the Army, I was doing accident investigations, things like that. I never had to go on a fire investigation because that was the fire department, the fire marshal, whatnot. But, we had to record all the fires from our unit and record all the accidents from the unit and whatnot as the safety NCO. So these are all accident reports I got, and 9 out of 10 out of them were because they panicked. All you have to do, you don't even need baking soda. You put the lid of the pan over the pan, it'll take the oxygen away and smother it. But most people panic. They grab water because it's the first human nature and throw the water on it, and there you go. It just blows from there. So yeah, make sure your kids, make sure your family knows where to go if the house catches fire. Again, your rally point. Make sure they know to get low and crawl. And if they're stuck, just stay low. fire department will come get them. But if there's a window, obviously, if you have a way out, get out. Anything to add?
Well, Kayla put up a good point. May teach your kids how to use the fire extinguisher.
Oh, yeah.
I actually have a little story for you about that, Eric.
Okay.
So my kids were cleaning out a trailer that Eric's parents gave to me and my wife, and my kids happened to come upon a fire extinguisher from probably about the mid-'90s that still worked.
Right.
The entire inside of the cupboards was filled with white powder.
Yeah.
So much as it still worked, it didn't work anymore.
Yeah, now it's dead, but my kids know how to use a fire extinguisher, I guess.
So the acronym for using a fire extinguisher is PASS.
Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep.
Yep. So you pull the pin.
Yep.
You aim the nozzle. You squeeze and you spray. You always spray for the base of the fire. You know, and we had annual fire training in the Army all the time. And they had,
we had weekly fire training when I was growing up.
Right, you did.
Of course, Dad taught us how fire worked out in the middle of our gravel driveway.
Oh, hell. So, you know, and Tripp is in the chat room. He says, yeah, but check the type of fire extinguisher you got. ABC is probably the most common. So a Class A fire extinguisher is a big silver one, and that is for basic wood and paper. You don't use that for anything else. ABC is the best one for pretty much any fire. It's got the powder. Electrical fires, you want to make sure you kill the power first, and oftentimes that will stop the source, obviously. But you don't. Again, common sense. You don't put water on an electrical fire. It's just,
that's right.
No.
Gasoline only.
You're not helpful, really. Well, depends on what you were trying to do.
Claim insurance.
So a Class D extinguisher is for metal fires. That's usually what you're going to have in a metal shop, or you know. And it's funny, aluminum fires, which is common with rims. So if you blow a tire on your car, it takes a lot to catch your rim on fire. But you know.
Yeah, but boy, does it burn well once it goes.
It does. It won't go out. You know, I think going back, so Navy, and I'm not sure if you ever saw it. I never personally saw it, but I know I've seen the training videos and whatnot. If the rim on a jet fighter catches fire, they don't even try to put it out. They have to actually drop the plane in the ocean.
Yeah,
no way.
At that point, distance becomes a very necessary issue.
Right.
Well, we started using protein foam.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the alloys the aircraft are made out of, when they do catch fire, holy crap, they'll burn through the flight deck. But we actually used purple potassium powder.
Yeah.
And it had protein foam for flight deck emergencies.
Right, because you think of the fuels, you think of, you know, the petroleum, the hazmat that's on the plane, and that fire is not going to go out until they got more upgraded fire suppression combinations. But they had to drop they had to push the plane into the ocean because it became a risk.
Back when I took shipboard firefighting school in Norfolk, they showed us, of course, the famous Forrestal fire. Because of the nature of an aircraft carrier, you have flat cameras. You have cameras recording flight ops, and this is one of those cases where a great deal of this whole shipboard fire was documented, well documented. And then, of course, the media, the shipboard, cameraman got on board, probably an eye seaman or an ET, was taking movies of what was going on. And, at one point, there's this huge hole in the flight deck where a plane, first off, the plane that caught fire, the first scene, there's this flight deck chief running out to it with a purple potassium, PKP extinguisher.
Mm-hmm.
He no sooner got up on it, the ordnance exploded. And it just showed one bad thing after another. Once that one melted through the flight deck, there was several hose teams just pumping water into this hole in the flight deck. It was almost like shock took over. When I was in shipboard firefighting, it was something that you drilled on quite a bit. You had general quarters drills, and 90% of what that general quarters drill was is rehearsing how to put out compartment fires, how to use low density fog nozzles. You'd open up the hatch, stick that in real quickly, and close the hatch back over it, and get this sort of a mist, sort of a heat shield established. Then you throw the door open, and the number one hose team would go in with the actual, the high pressure nozzle. It was a fascinating course, and it was one of the few things I remember having a good time doing was the shipboard firefighting drills and the school. That was my two best days in the Navy were shipboard firefighting school. But they'd set everything up, and then you'd have to go and they'd lecture you in class, then you'd put it into practical application, and that was a blast. Because they had boiler room, fuel room, mock-up, big tanks outside that were mock-up spaces. You'd actually have to follow the directions and actually put the fire out using fuel oil. So the fires use fuel oil, we use water. That sounded wrong.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they changed the standard. Thomas is in the chat room. He might be able to clarify this. But so as a volunteer fireman, and I think it depends on the district what their standards are, but you have 2 years once you join the volunteer fire department to go to fire academy. So I was with the fire department for about 8 months before I left. My PTSD really couldn't handle it anymore after a certain fire, and the day I went in and turned in my pager and quit, the fire chief said, "Oh, you're slotted for fire academy next week." And I'm like, "Well, I've got to go. I'm not doing it anymore." He needs to say he wasn't too happy, but yeah. So fire academy, I believe, is a month. How long was the school that you took, Markham?
Mine was a 2-day course.
Oh, okay.
Specifically shipboard firefighting.
Right.
It was the advanced class, so we did 2 8-hour days, and it was some lecture, but mostly it was out there in the mock-ups, putting everything into practice. Right. They'd torch one of these huge. They had like these huge round tanks, like fuel storage tanks you see at a fuel depot, and each one was a mock-up of a machine space in a ship, and they'd start them on fire, let them get a good, get them going good, and then you had to use what you'd learned in the classroom, and we all took a turn at each position. Like I might be the number one hose man, where I'm actually the one that's got the nozzle in my hand and how to turn it on, how to turn it off, how to sweep it. The low density fog, which was like a long wand with a curved tip on it. You stick that through the door first, to get a heat buffer.
Right.
You push the flames back a little, then you'd go at it with the water. It was a pretty intense course, but I loved it.
Yeah, and Thomas is saying where he's at, they send you as soon as they get the physical back. And when I joined the department I was with, we didn't have physicals. And again, maybe that's changed due to, you don't want an out of shape individual joining the fire department and getting hurt because they can't handle the gear. So yeah, and again, the standards may have changed. It's been about 4 years since I've been with the department. So, yeah, they go to the fire academy as soon as they join the department and get the physical back. Gotta be in shape to be a volunteer fireman, for sure. So, talking extreme heat, and we're coming in summer months. We get up to 100 degrees here at times, especially in the July, August months. In Iraq we had 140 degrees. Once it hits past 120, you really can't tell the difference, other than you dehydrate a lot faster. So some of the precautionary measures. And Chris, are you still with us?
Yep, I'm here.
You're awful quiet tonight.
Say it again.
I said you're awful quiet. You're usually full of questions.
Oh, I'm listening. I'm just listening to all the advice.
Okay. You're occupied. That's all you gotta say.
No, I'm listening.
Okay. So, protective measures for extreme heat. And, personally, I think extreme heat is anything above 90. You got people in Arizona, they're going, oh, no, 90, that's a cool day. But here in Washington, above 80, I think, is getting up there when they're used to rain and cold all the time.
Yeah, that's what's called a sauna at that point.
Right? So they suggest, and this is coming straight from FEMA, install window air conditioners snugly, insulate if necessary. So you can pick up air conditioning units for a couple $100 brand new usually, and they're usually pretty decent. You want them, especially if you have folks with disabilities. If you've ever had heat exhaustion before, you're going to be prone to heat injury. Would you agree with that, Markham?
Yeah, you can be. It's heat stroke is more of a permanent situation.
Right.
Heat exhaustion, you can get through heat exhaustion. That's just a matter of you stayed out, didn't drink enough water. The main difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke is if you have central nervous system involvement, ataxia, going into a coma, non-responsive, confusion, just incoherent irritability and seizures. Now, if you're in that situation, that's heat stroke.
Right.
And that's what you're going to have medical. And you can do things right away, but you're going to have to get somebody to a hospital for that. Now, heat exhaustion, main thing is get somebody out of the heat, get them into the shade, hydrate them, get them away from the heat. And if the symptoms ought to resolve themselves within 20 to 30 minutes. And the thing is, don't go outside without a hat, like a screening hat on. Drink a lot of water because you're sweating more than you know. Keep yourself hydrated. Use a sport drink. If you're diabetic like me, Gatorade has a G20 now. And if not, Powerade has a sugar-free version. So, keep yourself hydrated with something like that. Water, if you just rely on water, put some real lemon in it for electrolytes. Because, you can get into a whole other set of situations. If you're sweating profusely and just drinking water, you can run into issues because you're diluting your electrolytes, potassium, sodium chloride, CO2, the basic, like a basic chemistry panel would be. But you have to, keep your lights, keep your electrolytes along with your hydration. Now, when you look at it, that's one of the easiest things to prevent as far as, summertime, maladies is heat. You can avoid heat stroke just by simply don't overdo it. That grass will be there tomorrow too. If you got several acres and you're using a push mower, you don't have to do it all at once. Start off in the morning. Try not to work in the hottest part of the day. But if you have to, wear a floppy sun hat. Keep yourself covered. Like a light cotton long sleeve shirt. And put a hydration pack on your back and sip water or sip some kind of a sport drink while you're out there, and you shouldn't have any trouble.
And we're gonna get more on that in the last hour. I want to go over some definitions though real quick, because people, you watch weather reports, you don't really understand what they say because they don't explain them. But a heat wave is a prolonged period of excessive heat, often combined with excessive humidity. Heat index is the number of degrees Fahrenheit that tells how hot it feels when relative humidity is added to the air temperature. Exposure to full sunshine can increase the heat index by 15 degrees. So the medical terms we'll get to at the last hour, but heat cramps, that's usually the first sign. You start getting heat cramps, start pushing water, because you can alleviate, further damage by pushing water once you can start getting heat cramps. And that's usually when your muscles are starting to need water to function. And these are muscular pains and spasms due to heavy exertion. In the Army, we had, when it got to a certain temperature, we usually took a 10-minute break every hour. And then it goes from heat cramps, if you don't drink water, into heat exhaustion. If you still don't drink water, that's when you start worrying about heat stroke. And we'll get to that more on the last hour. So something I want to bring up too that I forgot to mention with fires is make sure you check your windows. You move into a house, you don't think about windows. But some people, they'll nail windows shut or they'll paint over windows, and you don't really check them until you really have to get the window open to get out. I forgot about that. So I'm reading over a lot of my notes here. And yeah, did you guys think about that one? Yeah. So yeah, you move into a home and you haven't had to worry about windows yet. Make sure your window's open. All my windows open. I wouldn't even think about that. But then, the house catches fire and you need to get out and they're nailed shut.
Oh, my mother-in-law bought a house where none of the windows were made to open. There's maybe 5 windows in the whole house that actually open. And there's about 20 windows.
Well, in the South, they have bars on the windows. So how are you supposed to get out? Does your house have bars, Markham?
No, it doesn't. I do have a few windows that won't open, but then again, I'm using the downstairs part of my house, and I have a door I can get out. I have a couple doors down through here. To be honest, there's either a baseball bat or a big knife or a gun in just about every room. So if it came, push comes to shove, I'm going to get out that window.
Oh yeah,
that window is not going to keep me. That window is, I'm not even going to be worrying about that window if the house is on fire. It's, my dad used to keep a axe underneath our trailer. When I grew up, when I was younger, we had a trailer, and he had a big double-bladed axe under my bedroom window. So if worse comes to worse, he would have chewed his way back into the my room with the axe to get me out.
Right. let's see here. So there's some key points I wanted to bring up, and I don't have, I can't remember. I know with firemen, they know what when it comes to the wildfires, how fast the fire is going to burn versus in accordance with wind temperatures, things like that. And these are things they track, and they can tell you the fire is going to hit you in an hour based on current conditions, that kind of thing. Does anyone remember that movie that came out, I think, last year or the year before, about the wildfire team?
Yes.
What was the name of that one?
Oh, God.
Excellent movie for anyone that's interested in learning more about wildfires, and because they go into a lot of the science, and that might be my next degree. Once I get my bachelor's in Homeland Security, I'm thinking about getting an associate's in fire science.
Wasn't it called Only the Brave?
Only the Brave. Yep, that's it. And yeah, Mary brought up for the second time. I'm sorry, Mary. Don't drive around fires. And obviously, common sense. Try not to drive through the fire. I say that while I'm thinking about the scenes from the New Halem fire about 3 years ago. And yeah, that was probably one of the worst in history. And so Trippin, so the fire jumpers, they actually, for the Eastern Washington fires we had a couple of years ago, we actually had fire jumpers that came from Australia to help us with the fires over there. The fire jumpers in Australia, I believe, are supposed to be the best in the world. So, yeah, when it comes to being fire prepared, know what the history where you're moving to is. Is it a high-risk fire area like we're in? So upriver Skagit County is a high-risk fire area. It's known for fires. We haven't had a fire in a couple of years. Knock on wood. I am. There you go. Knocking on wood. But, we get the smoke from Canada and Eastern Washington. And I know last year and the year before, we had nothing but a smoky haze, and it wasn't from fires here. It was from Canada, California, and Eastern Washington. And all the...
remember there was that one fire those tweakers caught. There was one near your house last year.
Yeah, well, that was by the Dulles Bridge. And they still don't know if it was a homeless camp. They haven't come out and actually said what caused that one. But, yeah, I don't know. I've probably been to 10 different fire calls in the short time I was with the fire department. So we're in a very dry area. We're in a very wooded mountain area that is higher risk for fires. Know what your seasonal weather is. When it comes to your home, so there's different zones that you want to be in. And we're getting to the top of the hour, so I'm going to not rush, but I want to cover everything we need to cover. So you want to keep about 30 foot of brush, and especially when it gets drier, away from your house. If you have trees that are overhanging, you want to cut them away, because if there is a fire, it's going to come up the tree, it's going to come to the top of your house and catch your house on fire. Again, if you have wildfires, you want to keep all the dry brush 30 feet away from the house. Keep your grass down. Keep your leaves picked up, things like that. Anything that's going to be used as a fuel, keep away from your buildings. And when you get closer to drought season, you're not going to want to use your water per se unless you're actually in a fire area that's got an active fire. Like I know in California, they were spraying the tops of houses and that kind of thing to try to keep houses from catching on fire. That's when you want to get to that point. But just doing it to do it, you don't need to, unless there's a fire around the area. Otherwise, you're just wasting water. You still here, Keith?
Oh yeah.
If you're not in a drought though, and you have any roof where if your house is too warm, spraying it down for a few minutes if you're watering the garden doesn't hurt, and it can cool your house down 10 degrees almost.
And that's a good point. Excellent point. You know, we have a fan in our attic. I'm not sure who put it in. You know, we were told about it when we moved in, which ain't a bad idea. Why they put it in, I'm not sure. Maybe it gets hotter than normal in the attic. We haven't had a problem. I didn't know they put fans in attics. Have you ever heard of that one before?
Oh yeah, my dad's got one in his house.
Yeah, my dad had one in the shop all the time.
Yeah, the attic gets hot as hell.
Right, well, especially with insulation, and could be a fire hazard. But no, I've you know, being a first time homeowner, I've never actually heard of a fan being put in the attic. So being in Canada, Keith, do you have any pointers? Because I know you guys have wildfires every year.
Well, we do, but the whole thing with fires, the biggest thing is you do not panic when you see them.
Right. And I agree. Completely agree. And
the
again,
best thing that I can recommend anybody do is what my dad did when we were growing up. Dad actually took us out in a very safe area. It was a gravel driveway, and taught us how fire actually works. Because education is the best tool to avoid panic.
Okay. And I agree. You know, and that's with any disaster. Bottom line, don't panic, because panic strikes fear, obviously, and you're not going to think. That's where the common sense goes out the window. The more prepared you are, the less you will panic. You know, you have your emergency action plan, you have your go bag ready, and as long as you're prepared, you have your inventory sheets done, everything's ready to go. You drill with your family, you know exactly what you got to do. You know, some families I know, they practice once a month. I think that's excessive. I think it's good, don't get me wrong. I would say do a drill quarterly. Pick a date. And, you know, your family knows, your kids know, this is the date we're going to go through over the emergency action plan. This is the date we're going to drill. Especially if you live in remote areas. The more you drill, the more your family has it second nature, exactly what they're going to do, who's going to do what. You know, and we haven't even talked about turning utilities off. So with gas, you never turn your gas off unless you smell a leak. Because then you have issues with turning the gas back on once it's done. You know, once the event is done. You want to know where your water is. Where do you turn the water off? Where do you kill the power? Your family needs to know all this. So, Chris, anything to add?
You know, I was thinking about these, especially these wildfires. And the one we had a couple of years ago was really, really bad. And so if you're in an area with wildfires, I would suggest to keep masks on hand, because that smoke was so bad here. There was so many people that were affected, asthmatics and everything. And one thing that I never, ever thought of was my air filter on my car got so bogged up. And I never even thought of that.
And that's a good point. So you know.
Yeah.
Totally agree. You know, when it comes to maintenance, again, Skagit County, we get hit with the smoke all around us from the Canadian fires, the California fires, and it's going to happen this year. So there is a website. I don't have it in front of me. I'll make it a point to put it up. I'll make sure it's up in the Upriver group and in FMP, that you can actually see what the air quality is. If you are known to be an asthmatic, you know, stay inside. as best you can. If you have to go out, wear a mask. Whether it's an N95, whether it's just a mask you get from the hospital just to keep the smoke out of your lungs, go out and wear one.
And we're going to add, since I am the huge pet lover, we're going to add, keep the animals in so they can breathe too.
Exactly. And that's why we have a panel on the show every week, because everyone's got things. Somebody forgets. If you have a farm, and that's a whole different category. We'll have to cover farms on a show one time for our disaster show. So we do have our disaster show seasonally, generally speaking, and we're adding our veterans show every 3 months. The rest of the time, for you paranormal lovers, yes, S4 has not gotten away from the paranormal. Don't panic. We're always talking paranormal, but we are a public service show. Whether it's paranormal emergencies, disasters, and being veterans for a good portion of our panel here, veterans have major issues. We don't get taken care of. A lot of our veterans don't, which is why we're going to add our veterans show. And Memorial Day was just the start of it. So, we have about 3 more minutes. Anyone got anything more to add before we go to break? And then we're going to start covering medical issues.
One quick thing with fires. So apparently, my parents' house, my dad opened up the door the other morning. The smoke was so bad that his smoke alarms in his house went off. That fire is 8 hours away.
Wow.
And it set off his smoke alarms.
How many acres are burned right now?
526,000.
Oh, good God.
As of last night.
Right. And that's in Saskatchewan, correct?
No, that's in high-level Alberta.
Okay. I swear I read Saskatchewan somewhere.
They're burning too, just not as big, not as much. And you were talking about not driving through the fires.
Right.
I know it's not suggested, but sometimes it is a necessity with some forest fires when you're evacuating to drive through them. If you ever want to see any good footage of it, because it is an amazing thing to see, honestly. It's a dangerous thing. It's a horrible thing, but it is an amazing monstrosity that for some of those forest fires.
It's certainly a sight you'll never forget.
Right.
And so if you go onto YouTube, though, if you look up driving through Fort McMurray fire, from 2 years ago, there is some amazing footage of people doing almost 190 miles an hour down the road trying to get through this forest fire, and it's licking the side of their trucks.
Yeah. And, the same thing with New Halem. I saw some great footage, and I hate using that term with a fire. But there is some good footage of driving through the New Halem fire as well, and I believe it was firemen that actually took that footage. So I don't encourage anyone to go driving through a fire just to get footage, but the footage I saw of the New Halem fire came from the firemen when they were going to the site. But yeah, go on YouTube, look up Fort McMurray fire, and you'll get footage of driving through a forest fire. It kind of reminds you of the the pictures of hell that they show. Oh. Yeah. I'm just looking at notes. And if we have time, we will hit earthquake just a little bit towards the end of the show. Trippin is saying, don't fly drones near fires. No, that's a good way to lose your drone.
It'll work for that purpose quite nicely.
Right. And if you spend $2,500 on a drone, I don't think you want to lose it in a fire. So on that note, folks, stay tuned for hour 3, and we will be talking more in depth with medical issues in the summer.
listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Well, hello there. Us here at S4 would like to remind you out there that the UFOI team weekly meetings are broadcast live on Facebook from Denny's, where America eats, each Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at UFOI Team on Facebook. The UFOI team's gear, product store, and newsletter are located on their website at ufoiteam.com. To contact the UFOI team with your sightings report or a paranormal story, send an email to theufoiteam@gmail.com. Keep looking up and tell us your story.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Hello, my name's Cole Wegleitner with Statement of Sound DJ Productions. We do mixing, monitoring, recording, and editing for all your audio needs. For our local listeners in the Skagit area, we are taking bookings for your 2019 events and parties. We have a wide array of music from any genre. Please allow us to help you make these memories last forever. Contact us at 360-999-2830 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro. Join us on September 28th at the Cedar-Woolley Community Center for 2019 Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon. VIP All Access passes on sale now at fmparacon.com. Your pass includes all-day admission to see the speakers and workshops, the Ghost Walk, a special VIP workshop, a special round table with the speakers, a Paracon t-shirt, and an FMP Paracon swag bag. These tickets can be purchased from fmparacon.com. Get yours today.
Hey everyone, Cole here with S4 Paranormal Radio, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. Looking for a way to get the word out there about your business, group, team, or product? Let us help you. A few clicks is all it takes to get started at s-4radio.com, or you can contact me at 360-999-2830.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Welcome back to S4 tonight. It's Summer Safety and Disaster Awareness. You can also find the archives at our Spreaker site and on the S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you missed in the last 3 years. Hard to believe I'm saying that. 3 years. So anyway, back to the show. I want to clarify something, though, because, I forgot about this part with drones. So if you have drones up in the air, and this goes with search and rescue as well, and that's why they, drones are very regulated. Anytime you have a drone up, other aircraft, whether they're dropping water or whether it's, the sheriff or SAR teams, they can't fly because your drone becomes a hazard. A drone can take down a helicopter. So, yeah, good point, Trip. Thanks for bringing that up. I wasn't even thinking about that. I forgot about that part. Anyway, we're back, and now we're going to start talking about heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and heat cramps. So heat cramps, like I said before, the first sign is painful spasms, usually in the legs and the abdomen, and heavy sweating. So remember that, heavy sweating, because with heat exhaustion, you still have sweating. Big sign with heat stroke is red skin, and this sweating is stopped because there's nothing else to sweat out. So I'm going to go over the signs and treatment really quick, and then we're going to go a lot more in depth with Markham. So with heat cramps, you want to get the victim to a cooler location, lightly stretch and gently massage the affected muscles to get them moving, and you want to give them sips of water and a half glass of cool water. So, and I think you guys would agree when you're drinking water, it's best to drink tepid water. Everyone goes for the ice water, but that actually shocks your system, does it not?
I don't know, but it tastes so good.
I've heard both ways on that. Probably if you're trying to get somebody to drink a lot of water, you should use tepid because, if you're drinking ice water, you know how it gets uncomfortable you have to stop drinking. A lot of times cramps are caused by you've sweated out some of your electrolytes.
Okay.
That's why early Gatorade tastes like sweat because that's essentially what it was, it's like sweat. You're going to want to give somebody, give them water for sure, but what's happened is they've already sweated out probably potassium,
mm-hmm.
and they've sweated out the salts in their body. So you're going to want to restore, to get the cramp to go away, you're going to want to restore some kind of electrolyte.
So
like I said, real lemon in water or a sport drink that has electrolytes in it.
So you mentioned potassium. Could you eat it? Do you recommend eating a banana?
Well, yeah, you could. I mean, if you eat a banana, you've got to digest it in order for the potassium to come out. You're better off making sure you have some kind of electrolyte.
Right. No, you drink
something like that around.
You drink your fluid, but I think a banana would help with the potassium, and then you add the electrolytes back with the fluid.
Yeah, well, like it takes longer for a banana to hit your system and be digested.
Okay, gotcha.
You've got to eat it. It's got to go through the digestive process, and then it can, the electrolytes will be spread around. But for that quick hit, in the case of somebody that's got some kind of cramp or some kind of heat ailment, you really want something liquid because that goes into your system quicker.
Okay, and that makes sense. So that's heat cramps. I've had them. They're awful. I've had heat exhaustion as well. IV is the fastest way to fix heat exhaustion, but not everybody can do that. So heat exhaustion, you have heavy sweating, but the skin's still cool, pale or flushed. Weak pulse, normal body temperature is possible, but temperature will likely rise. Fainting or dizziness, nausea, vomiting, exhaustion, and headaches. And again, with that, you want to get them to lie down in a cool place, loosen or remove clothing, loosen the belt, anything restrictive. Apply cool, wet cloth. fan or move the victim to an air-conditioned place if you have one. Give sips of water if the victim is conscious. Be sure the water is consumed slowly. Give half a glass of cool water every 15 minutes. And discontinue the water if the victim is nauseous.
I got a question. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
When you're done.
Nope, I'm done. What do you got?
Okay. Thank you. I'm not sure if I had heat exhaustion or heat stroke one time, but I was working in this T-shirt where they made T-shirts and lemonade, and I forget exactly what I was doing because this was decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of went up to my boss because I'm just like, I couldn't get the words out. I couldn't even speak. I'm just mouthing words. I'm like, I'm trying to tell her I'm sick and whatnot.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah, that sounds like ataxia. That sounds like stroke more than just heat exhaustion. If you were incapable of speaking, that's central nervous system involvement. That's usually what separates exhaustion from stroke.
Yeah, and again, the other difference is if you were sweating or if you had any sweat versus if you didn't.
I always sweat, so it's hard.
You might have been right on the verge, though.
I was also, after they poured ice water on me and got me to chug some, it did kind of shock me, but kind of brought me back, and then I was kind of able to, finally able to say stuff, and then she's going to let me go for the rest of the day, and when I was walking back to my tent, it looked like I had a 12-pack on an empty stomach, so, and then I just got to my tent and passed out for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah, and that's
more like stroke.
And that's why anytime in the military anyway, if we go to a desert environment, you usually take a week where you're training, but you're also acclimatizing before you can actually start doing operations. And that's why. Right. So you can actually, acclimatize, get adjusted to the heat, push fluids, stay hydrated. And I apply that to the civilian side as well. If you have a company, when the weather starts changing, start giving maybe more breaks. Make sure your employees are pushing fluid. Make sure your kids especially are drinking. So moving on to, do you have anything more to add, Markham, with heat exhaustion?
No, but I do have a question. I'm not very heat tolerant, as you know. I was bitching about the heat up there last year in May. So, but how do you guys manage in the desert where it's 150 degrees, wearing those damned NBC suits and all? How do you guys do that? I mean, that just seems to be beyond what human endurance should be able to do.
So, and we kind of touched on this last week, but so our unit, and I've got pictures of of thermometers that said 140 degrees, and so when you're wearing your vest with the plates, when you're wearing all the gear, your Kevlar plus your uniform and boots, you're pulling in a good 20 to 30 degrees on top of what it already is outside environmentally. And it really depends on what your unit's mission is, whether or not you can get away with working earlier. And, because, Tripp brought up earlier in the show that, it's hottest during the day from 3 to 5 p.m. That's the hottest point. But we would actually get up and go to work at 7 a.m. and break off at noon. And we were done. And that's being in a signal unit in a maintenance section. So we would actually do our rounds, make sure our trucks were up and running from 7 to noon. Now, unless there was actually a truck that was, high priority, you might have to work a little bit later because mission dictates. if you're in an infantry unit and you've got patrols that are required to be done, then obviously you got to do what you got to do. You push fluids. You move slower. You do what you got to do. You know, that's just part of that job. But again, when you get to country, you usually have a week. Again, mission dictate, depends on how fast that mission's got to get in. But if you're just doing a typical rotation, you have usually a week to acclimatize, get adjusted. Because when you're going from 40, 50 degrees here in Washington to automatically jumping straight into 120 degrees, that's a shock to the system. So, but yeah, you know, mop suit, gear in general, yeah, that's 30 degrees on top of the already 120. Not to mention, we had air conditioning in our shop. And if the air conditioning went out, it became a priority to get fixed.
I dressed up, and we had some of those mop suits, the old-fashioned olive drab with the charcoal in them.
Yeah.
We got them. I don't know why Dr. Scott got them. It was some kind of surplus thing that the colleges could go to. And I guess he thought they'd be cool to use as camouflage suits or something. Anyhow, I put one of them jokers on and tried to wear it for half an hour. I made about 15 minutes and I was done. I mean, I was soaked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that was at standard north, you know, Middle Tennessee is probably in the 80s. You know, that was not desert conditions. I cannot imagine wearing that on top of everything else.
No, they're great in the winter. We would in the cavalry, we actually put them on and did PT in them. And you know, you're going in 20 degrees in Germany. Oh yeah, it was comfortable. Not with a mask on, but yeah, with the mop suit on, it was, you know, it warmed you up. Trips in the chat room, and good point. Put ice on your areas of your skin where the main arteries are. I'd put them in the femoral and under your armpits. Cool off the arteries. So I know, Chris, you had a question about fair-skinned people.
Oh yeah. Basically, if somebody real light skin like myself, when I get a sunburn, I fry. And then it goes straight to blistering. And then it peels. And then I'm white again. So no tan for me. But I was curious to ask Markham, in a medical explanation, how that affects the body and the hydration. Do you hydrate more if you have a bad burn? You know, how it affects the electrolytes, and what do you do?
Well, it will throw your electrolytes out. So there again, drink something with electrolytes in it to help. The main thing to do for you is avoid at all costs trying to, get a sunburn. Use a really high SPF sunscreen. Wear a loose cotton shirt, something that, just sort of an overshirt. You don't have to button it up, but keep your shoulders and your arms covered. Your legs, wear loose cotton pants, that kind of thing, or like a sundress type of deal. And if you do get your sunburn, replenish your electrolytes and stay hydrated. Because it is, that's going to throw. A lot of times, whenever I get a sunburn, I end up feeling like I've got a hangover too.
Yeah.
And that's part of that's the electrolyte imbalance. So the thing is, avoid it, but then try to keep your electrolytes balanced and stay really well hydrated.
So during the healing process, when your body's trying to deal with this burn, is your body using more of the? Is it becoming more dehydrated as it's healing, and is it using more electrolytes? So do you have to replenish more so?
Well, the
during
thing
that
is,
healing?
when you're healing, anytime you're healing, your body's using its resources at a higher rate. So that would include electrolytes.
Okay.
And Trip adds in the chat room, use an umbrella, and that's good. That's a good one too.
Yeah, parasol. The Victorians they weren't completely wrong when they carried parasols with them.
Well, and it's tough too. I have this type of skin to where if it's not extremely hot out, but the sun's out, and there's those days where they say that even if it's overcast, you can really burn. So when it's not extremely hot, then you're still out and you don't think about covering, and then you go in and you look like a lobster.
Exactly.
Yep.
The ultraviolet rays are coming through, unless it's one of those days where it looks like night, where the sky is absolutely black with clouds. UV light is getting through, and UV from the sun is what causes the burning. So, an overcast day where it's just light gray, you can get a burn there real easy. And people don't think of that. Oh, the sun's not out, but the ultraviolet rays are still, they're still making it to the surface of the earth.
I guess I have to stay in the summer and go out in the winter.
There you go. But you're in the right state for that.
Well, no, just, like I said, just use sunscreen and the light cotton clothing helps a lot too. Well, look, Coop can tell you. Look at how the Arabs deal with being in the heat. They wrap themselves in layers of light clothing.
Oh yeah. And that is why I asked you.
Well, that keeps one thing that keeps the sweat on them. It's part of what, like out in Arizona where it's not humid at all.
Yeah.
It's really easy to dehydrate and burn because, I got sunburn there in 15 minutes one time.
Yeah.
Where, and it's evaporative. The coldest I think I've ever been in my life. Some friends and I were in Bullhead City. We were using the pool at my complex. Well, of course, the water was like bath water. It was so warm. Between the time we left the pool and got to my apartment, all of us had our teeth chattering, and I could barely get I was shaking so bad it took two hands and then some effort to get my key in the lock. It was ridiculous. And it was probably 80 degrees out, but it was evaporative cooling. The water was just, the pool water was just evaporating off of us, and that's what sweat does. It's evaporative cooling. So we just magnified that. It was trippy to be freezing my ass off in 80-degree weather, but it happened.
Yeah.
And a couple points to bring up from the chat room too. Wear light clothing. Don't wear black. Yep. Don't wear dark colors. They absorb heat. Wear white, which reflects. Yeah, wear white clothes, which reflect the light. And Trip is bringing up. Don't hop right in your car and drive. Let the air conditioning run a few minutes, and before you start driving, to get the air clear of the plastic fumes, because when your windows have been up, and which brings up another point, don't put your pets in the car or your kids in the car and leave the windows up. That goes back to the common sense thing, but that seems to be lacking. But yeah, put your windows down or put the air conditioning on. Let the let the plastic fumes out of the car before you start driving, because when the heat's been baking on on the dashboard. It does release chemicals on hot days. And yeah, careful with plastic bottles and the heat. And yeah, good way to get in trouble. Triple break a window for an animal. But yeah, it doesn't take long. I'm not sure what the time is, but depending on what the temperature is, it doesn't take long for an animal or a kid to die in heat stuck in a car. So common sense things, though, folks. Don't leave your kid. You should not leave your kids in the car anyway. Just common sense. So, heat stroke. What do you got to say about heat stroke, Markham?
I'm sorry, I had my mute on. Okay, heat stroke is very serious, and you can die. Heat stroke is you've gone past heat exhaustion or heat. Oh, I can't think of the other term. Anyhow, you've gone past that. You're dried out. You're not sweating. You're going to have some kind of central nervous system involvement because your brain's not running. Your brain's running on goop. Your electrolytes are depleted, and you may even pass into a coma. Heat stroke is usually one of those things where you have to call you immediately. You can get somebody try and cool them off, but the main thing is you better call for professional help because this person is going to end up needing IV fluids, possible medical intervention if they've gone into a coma. That's not one you can play with. That's serious business.
Right. And back in medical training, I've said a couple times in the show. So the difference in physical looking at someone, the big difference between heat exhaustion, what you're seeing, and heat stroke is they've gone past the mode of moist skin because they're still sweating with heat exhaustion. But now their skin has turned dry and red, and that's heat stroke. Agreed? Are you muted again?
Yeah, I'm having trouble with my headset.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're going to have, the pupils are going to, if I remember right, it's been the years since I took a emergency first aid course. It seems like somebody with heat stroke, they're going to be incoherent. If they're conscious at all, they're not going to make sense. They may be really irritable and try and fight you. And if I remember right, you may have the pupils will be really wide, widely dilated, even though they're getting light in them. And I think part of it, actually, even like in a real stroke, like a regular cardiovascular stroke, your patient may have one eye, the pupils wide open, and the other one's normal, just because you've got central nervous system involvement.
And are the pupils constricted or dilated?
Dilated. I'm pretty sure they're dilated because you're losing some of your autonomic responses because you're suffering brain damage.
Right. Your brain's cooking essentially.
Yeah. One of the best things to do is take a cold towel and put it around the neck because the carotid artery and the jugular vein are right there, and if you cool those, the blood going through those, especially the carotids, if you cool the blood in the carotid, that's going to cool the brain.
Right, and when you're checking the pulse of a heat exhaustion is still going to be rapid, but with heat stroke, you're still going to have a very rapid, thready pulse. Now, faster than normal because your body's overworking, trying to get fluids. So anything else with the medical side? Anyone else got questions?
No.
Chris?
Nope.
So for our listeners, Keith had to step out. He'll be back next week. Next week we're talking alien abduction. Back to the paranormal.
And probing.
Say again?
And probing.
And probing. No, that's not even funny. Probing.
But Cole's volunteering for that.
No.
That's right. I'll probe anyone you want me to.
No! You're the probee, not the prober.
So, yeah, and so with heat, and people ain't going to listen anyway, but don't drink alcohol. Because, alcohol increases, but so does coffee. Alcohol and caffeine both increase dehydration from the beginning. And then adding heat, yeah.
Because it dulls your senses, it makes you not notice it as much as well.
True. Very true.
Yeah, ask another question?
Yeah.
Now I've heard that, statement to question. I've heard that once you've had heat, stroke, or exhaustion, you can easily get it again.
You're prone to it. You're prone to it, yes.
Okay.
But like Markham said, maybe not so much with heat exhaustion. That depends on the individual. Heat stroke, yes, because you already weakened your system.
Okay. I was wondering because I kind of felt some symptoms prior to or after that event. I was like, yeah, it kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Okay, let's jump on. Say again?
No, nothing. Uh-huh.
Okay. So let's jump on for the last 20 minutes and talk about earthquakes. So I didn't want to talk. So when I plan disaster shows, I look at the highest threat. And right now, obviously, we're coming into summer, so the highest threat is fires. It is going to be medical emergencies with, heat exhaustion, heat stroke. Volcanoes, not so much a threat, although Baker and Glacier Peak, contrary to some people's beliefs, has gone to the high risk according to the Washington State Department of Emergency Management. I don't track other volcanoes, obviously, because they're not in my scope. I only look at specific areas in my own community. But that doesn't mean they're going to blow up tomorrow or next year or maybe even 10, 20 years from now. It could be another 50 years. But they have started slowly waking up again. But they're not going to be on my radar right now because they're not a specific threat. We don't do these shows either, folks, to scare you. And, I've been called a fear monger. I've got a lot of haters out there, and I really don't care, whatever. That's their problem, not mine. My problem is not to scare you. It's not to panic you. It's to be prepared. The prepared person is going to be the one that's going to survive. And that's the intention here, is to get you thinking and to get you preparing and know what to do, know how to respond. If you don't, then yeah, you're going to be the one that other people are going to put themselves at risk to help because you didn't prepare your family. So,
yeah, it's sad to say there's people out there that won't prepare because they say, my neighbors will take care of me. Or, the ant and the grasshopper fable, more or less. I'll let that guy spend his money preparing because I'll just mooch off him. You get a lot of that.
And I didn't see the show, but back when they had a prepper show, they actually had a prepper group here in Washington that didn't train to survive. They trained how to attack. Because their whole goal and their whole mindset was, why should we prepare when we could just go attack other prepper groups and other people and take their stuff? And that was on a TV show. It's like, seriously? So yeah, again, know your neighbors. Know who you can trust. And, it goes with that. Know what skills your neighbors have. So if you got someone that's an EMT that's next door, or a firefighter that's next door, or maybe even a gunsmith. Things like that. These are the things you want to know, so you know who's going to be around to help if a disaster hits. So the next disaster we're going to talk about today is earthquakes, because we do have the Cascadia subduction zone, and that is in the San Juan. That's a San Juan fault. It's around off the coast of Vancouver. And again, it's one of those things. It's not a matter of when it's it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when. When that one hits, it's going to be, according to their projections, a 9.0. Now, it's going to hit Seattle harder than it's going to hit us up here, because they're off the coast. They got the bay right there. But it might be a 9.0 in the Strait of Juan Fuca or in the San Juans. It's probably still going to be a 5 or a 6 up here. So, what do you prepare for? You're thinking a 5 to a 6.0 earthquake in the upriver community. You've got 5 dams that you have to worry about. Now, how structurally sound are they? I'm not sure. But a 5 or 6.0 earthquake is going to at least shake them. And you start getting a wave of water in the lakes up there, you don't know what's going to happen. So, prepare for that. Prepare for landslides. And again, before the shaking starts, prepare your family. So know the safe spots in each room. Now, I know, back in growing up, it was you crawl under the most structurally sound furniture in your house. And I think the kids in school today still crawl under their desk. I think. Does anyone know?
No.
Wake them up and ask them. No, don't do that.
Yeah, I don't know. That used to be the main thing for everything. Crawl under your desk. Crawl under your desk.
Yeah, I know.
Basically, I'd like to get out of the building myself.
But you don't want to get
tornadoes.
You don't want to get out of the building because you've got power lines that are going to be coming down. You've got trees that are going to be coming down, light poles, things like that. Ground can open up. You just never know. I believe the doorway is one of them, though, because the door
into a doorway.
Yeah, the doorway is sound. And when you're talking shaking, think of the things that are going to fall. So is your TV, attached to the wall, or is it just there? Are the bookcases, are they going to come down and hurt you? The dining room hutch, is it going to come down and land on you? Think of what's going to fall.
I think that's one of them abstract things that unless you've ever been in an earthquake, and I haven't, not a major one. I mean, I've been through some tremors that, a brief shake and the glasses on the table rattled, but not like a real, the earth is heaving and bucking type, California type earthquake. I've never been through one of those. Though I do live near enough to imagine fault that when it finally goes, I'll know.
I was trying to get Don on the show tonight because he's in California. He's from California, so he'd be able to tell us a lot more about earthquake from a California standpoint because they deal with them all the time. But he'll be on next week when we're not talking about earthquakes. So know the safe spots in each room. Against inside walls, under sturdy tables, desks, or archways. And this is coming from the British Columbia Emergency Management, actually. So when I'm researching, emergency management type stuff, obviously I've got textbooks that go into it, but I don't have time to read all my textbooks all over again. So I go on FEMA, I go on Red Cross, I go on ready.gov. I go on government standard websites. So when it comes to terrorism, things like that, you've got the CDC, you've got WHO, you've got, even UN's got standards. I've got probably about 100 different sources that I pull my information from. And if you want questions answered about your specific community, go to your local county Department of Emergency Management. They'll be able to tell you all the risks, all the hazards in your community, and how to mitigate them. So know the danger spots. You want to stay away from windows, mirrors, hanging objects, fireplaces, and tall unsecured furniture. So why would you stay away from fireplaces? Anyone?
Well, what type of fireplaces are you talking about? Any and all?
Yeah.
Then I don't know.
Gas line might burst.
Well, think about the chimney.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The chimney's going to come down if there's an earthquake. And it's going to come through your
metal
ceiling. Well, okay. So when they're talking chimney, I think they're talking about the old style brick.
Brick.
Yeah. The old style brick. That's going to, think science. It's going to fall. It's going to come through your ceiling.
Yeah, if it spokes way up, it's usually a chimney 3 or 4 foot above the 3 or 4 foot above the peak of the house, so the sparks don't land.
Right.
A well-built chimney is tied to the side of the house. So the part of the chimney going up the side of the house it might crack, but it's anchored to a point.
Yeah,
there could be some loose breaks, but the very top of it could very well, the oscillation could cause the top 4 feet of your chimney to break off and come through the ceiling if it falls the wrong way.
Yeah. And, along with being tied down, a lot of them have brackets. I know my parents, I believe their chimney has an actual bracket that's actually attached to the roof.
When I used to build them, I would, about every other course, I would put anchors in. They were like little hooks that came through the mortar line and attached the brick to the side of the block to the side of the house.
So Tripp's got a question too. And conspiracy sites aside, Sputnik says there's a new volcano off the east coast of the United States. Has anyone else heard about it?
No, I have not.
Okay. And he's only finding that on conspiracy sites. So, conspiracy is only a conspiracy until proven fact.
Right.
So, next point with earthquakes, learn first aid and CPR. So you can go to Red Cross. They teach first aid and CPR. You can go to your local fire department. Oftentimes they'll offer first aid CPR classes. Good skill to have. Whether you're driving down the road and come across a motor vehicle accident, a good skill to have. Stop bleeding, airway breathing circulation, no CPR. Good overall for any community that's got disasters. Next, keep a listing of emergency phone numbers. With the age we live in, everyone's got a cell phone. It's easy enough to throw those emergency phone numbers in your cell phone and make sure your phone's charged. Next, we've been talking about that in the first hour. Prepare family emergency kit with supplies. And again, they say fairly 72 hours. I say a week. Now, prepare your home. So learn how to shut off the gas, the water, electricity. We went over that. Keep breakables or heavy objects on bottom shelves. Secure tall, heavy furniture which could topple. Bookcases, china cabinets. I haven't done that. Again, this kind of stuff is always a work in progress. You're never going to have all this. And I do have a calendar for anyone that wants it. It's a 16-week calendar, and it's got it broke down each day, or actually by week, what you can buy what you can train on, what kind of things you can do to prepare. And it's broke down in 16 weeks. You don't break the bank. You don't get burnt out. Really great file. So anyone that wants it, just contact me and I'll get it to you. Secure the hot water heater and appliances. Agree with that. To keep flammables or hazardous liquids such as paints, pest sprays, or cleaning products in the garage or outside shed. You don't want them mixing and causing a hazmat experience as well as a earthquake. So annually, I would say check your chimneys, your roofs, your walls, foundations for cracks. You don't want them weakened already before an earthquake. Maintain your emergency food, water, and other supplies, including your flashlight. So I would say seasonally, you want to check your batteries. Make sure your flashlights, if you haven't been using them, if you haven't needed them. Make sure all the batteries are fresh. Make sure you have extra batteries around the house. Check the expiration dates on medicines. Go through your first aid kits. These are things that I think we're going to be going over with the FMP junior team as well, huh, Cole?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah.
When I was real young, that was a few years ago, we had an earthquake here in Skagit, in Cedro, and one thing that you wouldn't think about, but my mom brought to my attention, is she's got 12-foot ceilings with chandeliers with chains, and they were swinging.
Right.
So, if you expect one, that's another thing that should be checked, is those connections, because that can be, especially the chandeliers with all the crystal pieces,
right,
could be very dangerous.
Completely agree. Well, and that goes back to knowing your home. Do a hazard hunt in your home. And we didn't even get to the hazard hunt. Again, folks, I have 150 gigabytes of nothing but books, files, templates of nothing but disaster management. So you want an emergency action plan? I've got one. You want a farm emergency action plan or a biosecurity plan for your farm? I've got one. You ask me for something, I probably have it. So,
Chris,
would you agree, though, that one of the things you should have for any of these disasters, I mean, we all take our cell phones for granted.
Right.
But I'm a big proponent of having a battery-operated, possibly hand-cranked mobile communication system of some kind. At the very least, have something that'll run off a car battery, like a CB or, a limited use, like those little shortwave receivers you and I have, transceivers.
Yeah.
Something that you can reach out with and communicate because in the case of an earthquake, the cell towers are probably going down.
Oh, they're definitely going down.
There's a lot of natural, there's a lot of natural emergencies where your cell phone's going to be a paperweight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should have some kind of, at the very least, just so you can keep up with what the emergency channel's saying, some kind of hand crank radio.
So, yeah, and with that, hand crank radio is great. The NOAA radios are great. I've got my scanner. But again, with a scanner, guarantee the 911 call center is probably going to go down. Not because of lack of power, but because the towers are going to go down. CB radio is ideal. If you wanted to invest, go with ham radio. I haven't, but I do have, I do have CB radios. For locals, I do run channel 13. I don't usually run my CB. I don't have to, but in the event of a disaster, I would be running channel 13. So a couple things that the chat room is also bringing up. Trip is saying weather warning app for cell phones. Most have settings for red flag and fire alerts, and those are great if it's not a disaster. Your cell phones will still be working. The app will still be working. Let's see here. So earthquake warning sites, and I wanted to bring up a couple. USGS, I do get emails from the USGS when there's global earthquakes anywhere. I also have ARSO. So I can't tell the exact website, but do a Google search for RSOEEDIS. ARSOEDIS. So ARSOEDIS is an app that I get a pop-up when there's a biohazard, when there is a fire, when there is a major motor vehicle accident, when there is a tsunami, a volcano, an earthquake, anywhere in the world. And it's a real-time, by-the-minute computer app. So if you want to stay up to date on everything that's going around globally, I do. I don't really always pay attention to it because right now I don't care what's happening in India per se, but it is good to know if you have friends that are global. So we're coming down to the top of the hour here. And real quick, so during the earthquake, if indoors, stay there, drop, cover, and hold. Get under a desk or table, hang on. I like that. And hang on. It actually says that. So ultimately, you can stand in an archway or corner. If you're outdoors, get into an open area away from trees, buildings, walls, and power lines. If you're in a high-rise, I don't think we have any high-rises in concrete, do we?
The hub.
Yeah. But we are a global radio show, so if you're in a high-rise, stay away from the windows and the outside walls. Get under a table. Don't use the elevator. Common sense. Don't run for the elevator.
Unless you want a really quick ride down.
Yeah, and you won't make it. You won't make it.
Most elevators even have a warning, do not use in case of fire or anything like that.
Right?
Actually, most of them now, the doors will not open once an emergency starts.
Right?
Yeah, they've got a fire. The firemen have a key to use them, but they don't. The doors will open, but they won't go anywhere without the fire marshal key in them.
Yeah. So if you're driving, pull your car to the side of the road and stop. Avoid overpasses or power lines. Remain inside until the shaking is over. And, folks, if the power lines drop, don't get out of your car. Stay in your car.
No. Unless the light's on fire, and then two-step jump, feet close together.
Yep. I was just going to go there. So describe that real quick, and we are going to wrap up the show.
Describe that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you do is you open your door without touching your
metal.
car as much as possible.
Right.
You step on the ledge of your door with both feet and try and get out of the vehicle without touching the ground, and you jump as far away from the vehicle as you can with both feet touching the ground at the same time, very close together.
And that
then
is
you take
only
short, small steps, 30 feet. You have to get 30 feet away from your vehicle before you can take regular steps. Short, small steps away from the vehicle.
And that is only if your car is on fire or you smell smoke. Otherwise, stay in your car.
Yep.
Wait until the energy the power company or fire department arrives, and they can tell you if it's energized or not, and they can get you out. So, without further ado, Markham, where can we find your network?
We are at thefringe.fm, KTLK Digital Broadcasting. We're running 24/7 now.
Outstanding. Are you doing any science blogging or anything yet?
No, I didn't. I haven't been because, family stuff has been keeping me pretty well occupied.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Okay. And Cole, where can we find Statement of Sound DJ services?
Well, right now you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro. But pretty soon, one of our wonderful agents at FMP, Eric's wife, is building me a new website, so you'll be able to find us on there soon. That'll be announced hopefully within the next few weeks.
Outstanding. And we do have, you will start hearing commercials hopefully next week for our sponsor of Java Zone 2 here in Concrete, right next to Loggers Landing. Has great coffee, has ice cream, has some baked goods, and just go support them. They're local. So real quick, and again, real quick too, if you do have a paranormal emergency, whether it's alien-related UFO or Bigfoot report, or you're having any kind of paranormal issue, you can find the Forest Moon Paranormal group on Facebook. Just look for Forest Moon Paranormal, jump into the group, and we can always use locals on the team. We need more team members if you want to join the team. And I wanted to go over the June schedule real quick. June 8th, next week, we will be talking alien abduction trends. So it's going to be 3 hours of nothing but alien abduction. Father's Day weekend, June 15th. I need to get back with them, but we do have a tarot reader who's going to come on the show and do live tarot readings. And for Father's Day weekend, we'll be talking various divinations, how they can be useful. June 22nd, it's Fairy Day, summer solstice. What is it? And we're going to talk about the Fae, different aspects, different lore. We're going to talk about Fae races. And, of course, the 29th, we will wrap it up with our June Roundtable. So, June, we're back to the paranormal. And I know our listeners love everything we talk about anyway. So it doesn't matter whether we talk Veterans Day, whether we talk about, disasters. This is all public service. This is for you, our listeners, so that you can stay safe out there, whether it's a paranormal issue or a disaster. That's the two main things we focus on, even on the team. We haven't done much disaster training on the team, but it's coming, especially once we start getting our training schedule planned out for more camping, more mountain missions, things like that. I would like to get to the point where we can set up an ICS camp, which is Incident Command System style camp, where we have maps on the walls, we have whiteboards, we actually have missions scheduled. And I know, Markham, you're just biting at the bit to move up here. Markham, where'd you go?
Oh, the stupid earpiece keeps disconnecting from the phone for some reason. Yeah, I hope to be out west someday. I don't know how far west I'll get. I kind of like the desert.
Okay.
But I'll be closer than the other side of the friggin' country, that's for sure.
Right. Agreed. So anyone else got anything else to add?
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
All right. Chris, you still with us?
I am.
You didn't fall asleep.
No, I didn't.
All right, so I want to thank our crew tonight, Cole Wig-Leitner, our FMP technical analyst, and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services, Brent and Chris. It was supposed to be Brent, but Chris jumped in. That was great. So, Brent from the FMP Astral team, Chris from the Extended Care team, and Eric Markham, our FMP scientist, and our Keith Andrews, our alien race specialist. He had to step away at third hour. So stay tuned next week again, June 1st, June 8th, as we talk alien abduction. Thank you for listening, and keep your eyes to the sky.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages. And contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.